You notice it every time you step onto a cruise ship. The endless buffets, the midnight snacks, the glowing dessert trays that practically pull you in like a magnet. And for most passengers, it's harmless fun. But if you're a senior or traveling with one, there's a hard truth. The cruise lines will never say out loud. Some of the foods on board can quietly put you at risk long before you feel anything is wrong. Your doctor would warn you instantly. But out here at sea, it's just you, your choices, and a ship filled with temptations. And it always starts with the same thought. It's vacation. What's the worst that could happen? But here's the reality. Between the salt, the sugar, the hidden bacteria hazards, and the way certain foods interact with age-related conditions, some dishes can hit seniors much harder than everyone else. And cruise ships, no matter how beautiful, create the perfect environment for those issues to sneak up on you. Here's the truth. Nobody tells you. When you're sailing days away from the nearest hospital, even a simple mistake with food can turn into a trip-ruining problem. And that's why doctors quietly warn seniors to avoid certain things on board, even though they look perfectly innocent under the buffet lights. Think about the first night on the ship. Everyone rushes to the main dining room or the buffet. You grab a plate, trying a little bit of everything. Why not, right? But that's where the first danger hides. Foods sitting out too long, foods prepared in bulk, foods loaded with sodium or sugar to hold flavor under heat lamps. They're delicious, but they hit differently once you're over 60, especially when you're walking around a moving vessel in warm weather. But here's something that surprises a lot of people. The biggest risk isn't the one dramatic food poisoning case you hear about online. It's the slow, creeping issues. Dehydration, dizziness, blood pressure spikes, or a harmless-looking stomach issue that suddenly turns into something worse because of age, medications, or mobility limitations. And cruise doctors see this all the time. You might not think twice about grabbing a cold-cut sandwich from the buffet, or sampling the creamy pasta, or trying the soft-serve machine 3 times a day. But for seniors, these foods carry different consequences. A salty meal can raise blood pressure for the rest of the day. A sugary dessert can cause a sudden energy crash while walking on a swaying deck. A scoop of raw or undercooked seafood, something cruise ships love serving, can trigger issues that your body just doesn't bounce back from the way it used to. Here's the part that catches travelers off guard. Cruise ships are extremely clean, but they are still closed environments. The moment you're sharing dining areas with thousands of people, small risks multiply, one wrong dish at the wrong time of day, and suddenly you're spending your vacation in your cabin instead of watching the ocean. But before we get into the specific foods seniors absolutely need to avoid, and why doctors warn about each one, you need to hear this. Most of the danger doesn't come from the food itself. It comes from the combination of age, movement, crowded spaces, and the cruise ship environment. And once you understand that, everything on your plate starts to look different. So let's dive into the first food on the list. And trust me, it's one almost every senior grabs without realizing the real risk behind it. The first food seniors need to be careful with is the one that seems harmless, comforting, and easy to grab on the buffet line. Deli meats and cold cuts. You see them rolled up neatly beside cheeses, salads, and fresh bread. But doctors warn seniors about them for one big reason. These meats are prone to bacterial growth when they sit out too long, and cruise buffets restock constantly, but don't always replace trays fast enough. For younger people, that usually means nothing more than a mild stomach issue. But for seniors, especially those with weaker immune systems, even a small dose of bacteria like listeria can hit harder and linger longer. And on board a ship, that's the kind of problem that doesn't just ruin your day. It can knock out the rest of your trip. And here's the part the cruise line won't say. Cold cuts are often packed with sodium. Seniors already dealing with high blood pressure or heart issues might feel the effects within hours. Swelling, dizziness, or that heavy, tiring feeling that sneaks up on you after dinner. It's not dramatic. It's subtle. But it's enough to make walking long hallways or navigating staircases a risky challenge. You don't go on vacation to monitor sodium levels, but on a ship, the buffet can easily push your day way past what your body's used to. Then comes the second food. Those creamy, rich dishes everyone loves on vacation: Alfredo pasta, creamy soups, cheesy casseroles, anything loaded with thick dairy. They taste amazing, no question. But seniors digest these foods slower, especially in warm weather and with more walking than usual. That's why cruise doctors quietly caution older guests about them. These dishes can cause bloating, stomach cramps, or diarrhea hours later, right when you're supposed to be enjoying a show, sitting at dinner, or relaxing on the deck. And because you're on a moving vessel, even mild discomfort feels worse. Something as simple as creamy soup can turn an evening into a miserable stretch of nausea. But here's the third item seniors underestimate: raw seafood, especially sushi, shellfish, and ceviche. Cruises serve mountains of it. It's fresh, beautiful, and advertised hard because passengers love it. But for seniors with slower immune responses, raw seafood poses a higher risk of foodborne illness. Even when handled perfectly, the bacteria levels tolerated by cruise ships can still cause issues for older guests. And unlike at home, you can't just drive to urgent care. You're on the ocean. That changes everything. Here's where things get interesting. Doctors say the real danger isn't the food itself. It's the timing. Seniors often try raw seafood on embarkation day or early in the trip, right when their bodies are still adjusting to motion, heat, and hydration changes. The combination hits harder, which is why cruise medical staff see these cases most frequently in the first 48 hours of a voyage. But there's another deceptively dangerous food seniors should avoid, and it's one cruise ships serve constantly. It's warm, filling, and always available, and it's probably not what you think. The food most seniors don't realize can wreck their energy on a cruise is the one that seems the safest. Anything from the carving station roast beef, glazed ham, thick-cut turkey. Those beautiful slices under warm lights feel like a hearty, reliable choice. But here's what a lot of people don't know. Carving station meats are often injected with brine or seasoned heavily to stay moist under heat lamps for hours. And that brine is packed with sodium. For seniors, one oversized serving can spike blood pressure, pull water out of the body, and trigger dehydration faster than you realize, especially when you're walking long decks in warm sea air. The ship won't tell you this, but cruise medical teams know it well. Dehydration is one of the top reasons older passengers visit the infirmary. It sneaks up slowly. Dry mouth, dizziness, feeling wobbly while walking. And when you mix that with motion from the ship, even mild dehydration becomes dangerous. Suddenly, navigating a staircase or stepping onto an elevator feels harder, and it all starts with one innocent-looking meal from the carving station. Right beside it, though, is another food that hits seniors harder than they expect: deep-fried anything. The fries, chicken tenders, calamari, fish and chips. They smell amazing on vacation, but doctors warn seniors about fried foods because they slow digestion, trigger acid reflux, and cause bloating that becomes 10 times more uncomfortable on a moving ship. Even a small portion can sit heavy in your stomach, making you nauseous in ways that have nothing to do with seasickness. And the combination of grease plus motion is exactly why cruise doctors see older guests complaining of upset stomach after lunch more than any other age group. Then comes one of the largest hidden dangers for seniors: the endless dessert trays. Cakes, brownies, cheesecakes, soft serve, chocolate fountains. They're fun, and you deserve to enjoy your vacation. But here's the issue. Dessert on cruise ships is designed to be sweeter than what you'd normally eat on land. Sugar hits the bloodstream fast. For seniors, especially those with diabetes or borderline blood sugar issues, that spike is followed by a hard crash. You feel weak, tired, shaky, or suddenly lightheaded while walking back to your cabin. And because cruises encourage walking long distances between decks, those sugar crashes become more noticeable and more dangerous. But there's another layer to this. Many seniors take medications that interact with sugar intake: blood pressure meds, heart meds, thyroid meds. A heavy dessert can cause subtle but uncomfortable side effects. You may not connect it to the slice of cake you had an hour ago, but your body does. And here's a surprising truth most passengers never think about. The ship is the worst place to ignore a sugar crash. When your balance is already challenged by the motion of the ocean, even a tiny dip in blood sugar can make you feel disoriented. That's why cruise doctors often ask patients, "What did you eat today?" long before they run any tests. But we're still not done. There's another food seniors grab constantly because it feels refreshing, but it can cause one of the most common medical issues seniors face at sea. The food that seems refreshing but quietly causes problems for seniors is the giant bowls of fresh melon and pineapple on the buffet. They look hydrating, light, and perfect for a hot sea day. But doctors warn older travelers about these fruits for two reasons. First, they're high in natural sugars, which means they hit your bloodstream quickly, especially on an empty stomach during breakfast. And second, these fruits are among the highest risk items for cross-contamination on cruise buffets. They're cut in huge batches, stored in large containers, and handled repeatedly. For many seniors, that combination leads to stomach upset or sudden fatigue later in the day, right when you're trying to enjoy a shore excursion or a show. But there's another fruit doctors say seniors should treat carefully at sea: anything citrus-heavy, especially grapefruit. It doesn't matter if it's fresh slices, grapefruit juice, or desserts flavored with it. Grapefruit interacts with dozens of common medications: blood pressure meds, cholesterol meds, and certain heart medications. On land, your doctor might warn you. On a cruise, where you're relaxed and distracted by the buffet, it's easy to forget. And that interaction can change how your medication works, sometimes making it too strong, sometimes too weak. Either way, it's not something you want to discover halfway through your vacation. Now comes a food that seniors almost always underestimate: soft-serve ice cream. It seems harmless, fun, and perfect on a sunny sea day. But the machines run non-stop, and even though cruise ships clean them regularly, they're still one of the highest maintenance pieces of equipment on board. When they're not cleaned perfectly, or when they've been dispensing all day, the risk of mild bacterial contamination rises. Younger passengers rarely notice it. Seniors feel it almost immediately: bloating, cramps, or an unexpected wave of nausea, and that discomfort gets amplified the moment you're out on the open deck with heat, wind, and motion. But the final and perhaps most surprising food seniors should avoid is the midnight buffet, or anything served late at night. Not because of the food's quality, but because of timing. Seniors digest food more slowly with age, and heavy meals eaten right before bed can trigger heartburn, indigestion, or even nausea that lasts into the morning. When you combine that with the early morning movement of the ship, you wake up feeling off balance, tired, and uncomfortable. Most seniors who visit the medical center with morning nausea aren't seasick. They're reacting to what they ate the night before. And this is the hidden truth: none of these foods are inherently dangerous. It's the environment of the ship: motion, heat, long walking distances, tight hallways, and constant activity that magnifies everything seniors don't need to avoid all the fun on board. They just need to choose wisely, eat slowly, stay hydrated, and listen to their bodies long before something becomes a problem. Because at the end of the day, your cruise is supposed to be joyful. You're there to enjoy sunsets, explore new places, laugh with family, and create memories. And you can absolutely do that without letting the buffet control your vacation. You've been watching Cruise Threads, where the real stories sail below deck. Subscribe, because the next secret is already on the horizon.